Hey, I want to talk about something kind of a little controversial today, shocking, and that's pricing, sort of. A friend of mine wrote something on Facebook that showed up in my memories recently that I thought was pretty profound. Bob Carpenter out of Rhode Island. And he said, why invest if there's no reward for it? And he was talking more about investing in the best lighting and equipment and that sort of things. And why do this really great stuff if there's no payoff? And why not just be mediocre? If you're going to charge a mediocre price, why put all this extra money into it? And I would take that even a step further and say, why invest in anything, in yourself, if there's no reward for it, right? So reward can be two things, but I want to talk, it can be just the reward of doing great work. But I want to talk about return on investment and why, I see DJs who spend a lot of time on, it's kind of funny, the whole online world. It's like, yeah, I watch YouTube videos, which is great. You're seeing this on YouTube. So there's certainly some ideas and training of sorts that you can get here, but it's really conventions and workshops. And at the risk of sounding like a plug, things like my DVDs, those sorts of real training, there's an investment of time and money and energy to that. And why do that just to charge what everybody else charges, right? So the whole point is you want to separate yourself from the pack. So we have this group of, in any profession, most everybody's like right in the middle. Think about teachers, right? Most teachers are forgettable. They're fine. They taught the subject, you moved on. Maybe you liked them or you didn't like them. But in terms of teachers, most are just the same. But there's a handful of teachers at the bottom who are awful, right? They're just like, everybody hates them. You really feel like you learn nothing from them. Everything about it is awful. They're still teaching. They still have their job. And the flip side of that, 10% of the people are at the bottom, 10% are at the top. And that 10% of teachers who really changed your life, it's the teacher who you always hated history and all of a sudden made you like history or math or whatever the subject was. But they taught it in such a way that made it interesting and you actually learned something. In the DJ world, we have the same thing, right? 10% of the DJs are at the bottom. They're just the slugs that destroy weddings. 10% are just amazing people, and 80% are in the middle. Man, it's tough to live in the middle. You're competing with so many people. So if you can separate yourself out, that's great. But if you separate yourself out by investing in yourself with workshops and training and equipment, right? And you're getting the very best, you're not just getting a pair of speakers, but you're getting great sounding equipment and you have really great microphones and you've done all of that. Why do all that and then charge what the guy down the street charges who's just got, he's still using his, wired mic from, 1994 or whatever. So invest in yourself, invest in your equipment, do all of that. But if there's no reward, there's no point. So when you do this stuff, when you make a new purchase, are you just buying it because it's fun? Listen, we're DJs. I know that we do that, and give yourself a little room to do that if you want. But you really have to say, how can this give me a return on investment? And what if, and I've made this analogy many times, think about like a golf lesson. I could buy a new golf club for $300, or I could buy a whole series of golf lessons for $300. And the reality is that series of golf lessons will make me a better golfer than a new golf club with my old swing, right? And so invest in workshops, and there's plenty of them that are out there available. At some point, I may do another one, but Mark Farrell is still doing his workshops that are great, and you've got the conventions, and there's opportunities to do that. But why do it if you're just going to have mediocre pricing? mediocre return on investment. Make sure that it's measurable. I think I went over my minute, so I should wrap it up. Thanks, Bob Carpenter, for that little brilliant insight. See you next week.